Baruch Hashem, you're a bad Jew.
Shalom.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Bad Jew, the place where there, I don't know if you knew, is no such thing as a bad Jew. With me today is Coach Daniel Ratner, charismatically hailing from Israel. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Chaz?
I'm doing great. It's really great to have you here on the podcast. You walked in to Ashlit, my stomping grounds here in Los Angeles.
That's right.
And I was blown away. I loved your energy. I loved your charisma. You talked about a subject that we're going to be readdressing and kind of going more full force into in this episode, this 30-minute episode. We got a lot to unpack. But before we do that, Coach Ratner, you have the right of entry onto the podcast, which is the 4-minute Bad Jew challenge, where you tell your life story in 4 minutes. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
Excellent. Echad, shtayim, shalosh, yalla.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this show. So I grew up in a very secular Jewish family outside Washington, D.C., in Alexandria, Virginia. And I was not engaged Jewishly even in my 20s. And then after I got married, met my wife, I got married in my mid-30s. I got married at 36, which is late. And we ended up meeting a Rebbitzin. My wife met a Rebbitzin, and she started learning with her, and she started having classes in my house. And I met her husband. I started taking classes. And I've always liked to live in clarity. That's why my podcast is called Living in Clarity. And I like to know, growing up a secular Jew in America, my goal in life was to go to shul Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and make sure I stood at the right time and sat down at the right time. And when the sermon's finished, I'd go home and have lunch. Like that was my duty as a Jew. And I didn't know what it meant to be a Jew. I had no concept whatsoever. And so when my representative rabbi started talking about that God loves you, I'm like, God loves you. Isn't that like a Christian idea? And so I started learning, and basically there's two choices, but two questions to ask yourself. Is there a God or there's not a God? If there is, great. If there's not, fine. But you can't have it both ways. You can't be in the middle ground. There's a God, there's not a God. And the question number two is, did God give us a Torah or did not give us a Torah? And if God didn't give us a Torah, that means it was written by a group of men or a man or a group of women or both. And then I think to myself, if a bunch of men wrote this book and I'm fasting Yom Kippur, I'm an idiot. Why would I do that? Because some man told me to fast, right? So I like to have clarity on what I'm doing. So I started learning Torah, and I came to the conclusion. I didn't want to come to this conclusion. I wasn't looking to keep kosher. I wasn't looking to keep Shabbat. I had a great life. That God gives the Torah. That's what I concluded. And at that point in time, I started living in clarity. I'm like, you know what? Since this is true, I better learn what he's writing to us about. And it's the most amazing depths and conceptual ideas of what it means to be for us to reach our potential in life and to live a meaningful, happy life. And that's kind of like how I got involved. So I moved to Israel 4 years ago. I can't see the timer, Chad. How much time do I have left?
You got just under 2 minutes. You're doing great.
Okay. So I moved to Israel 5 years ago with my family in June. And I'm not a rabbi, but I started learning, started writing classes. And I do like living in clarity. I'm a little bit creative. So I started writing classes. Some of my titles are interesting. One is called The Lamb and Lamborghini. I gave this week in Jerusalem. One is called Body, Soul, or Pokeball. One is called Be a Joy Jew, Not an Oi Jew. And then I started writing books 3 years ago. I started teaching at Eshet Torah, which they have this Essentials program, which is starting May 12th this year. Again, free classes, open to the public, amazing speakers. I started teaching there, and I was teaching there a few times a week. And so I started writing more classes. And my Rebbitzin Lori Plotnick said to me, you should write a book. And so I did. And now I just published my 5th book called Infinite Marriage. I think you'll see in the ticker where you can buy it. And it's called The 4 Phases to a Loving Relationship. And I have another book coming out this year called Unloved, the 12 Strategies to Cure Low Self-Esteem. And that book is in manuscript form. It's finished. I just need to get edited and get it out there. So I teach all over the world. I'm teaching after Passover 2024. I'm teaching in Chicago 3 days, in New York for 4 days. I'm coming back to New York, Chaz. To LA. First week in June. I'm booking up every night there. So
I can't wait.
I thought I said you want to do it in person. I can wait till I see you, but I'll be coming to LA soon.
Well, there's such a thing as doing a part 2 and a part 3. That's always always a possibility.
I have a lot to say. So, and I have a lot going on. So much to my life. It's very interesting. I'm starting a new business that I think is going to blow up, and I'm also a rare coin dealer. And I play piano, but I do a lot of stuff. And I host a lot of people for Shabbos in my house here in Israel, where we have 10 girls tomorrow night from Neve and Aish Seminary. So I'm very busy, and I do all the cooking. So I'm always doing something. I'm always busy. I'm the kind of person, like, I'm not busy, I'm not happy. When the war started and everything got canceled, I'm like, it just makes me nuts. I gotta do something. Right. So anyway, I think my 4 minutes are probably up. So anyway, let's go.
And you use those 4 minutes very nicely. But now the question of the podcast is, it's not about how do you find love, but it's actually about when do you sleep?
When do I sleep a lot. I sleep well. I sleep great. I really do.
You're a marathon man. You just keep on going. So
I do. I'm very active. I walk all over. I don't have a car here in Jerusalem. I walk all over the place. I walk probably 6-7 miles a day.
That's awesome. I know a lot of people also electric scooter over there. Do you electric scooter? I
bought a bike, and my wife was very concerned with me riding a bike. I rode it one day to Aish from my house in Rehavia. And I don't know if you know, on Jaffa Street, they have these train tracks. They have the light rail. And I knew it was there. It wasn't like, I know there's a rail there. I know if you don't, drive properly, you're going to crash. And I wanted to cross the rail. So I thought I went at 90 degrees. I probably went like a little less. And my wheel got caught and I kept going. And that was the last day I rode my bike.
Damn. Well, I'm glad you're okay now.
Yeah.
You look great. You have an incredible energy, as I'm sure the listeners who are just listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify can hear. So let's get to the real meat of the conversation, okay?
Sure. Okay.
I'm a single guy.
Okay.
I ended my last relationship in October of last year. And yeah, I think...
Let me ask you a question. How long did you date her for?
I dated her for a year.
Okay. When you were dating, what was your purpose for dating?
I always date for the same reason, which is to find my life partner. About halfway through the relationship, I really thought I had found the one at one point.
Oh, really? You did? About 6 months through?
Yeah.
So what happened?
I realized, so there was, it's funny. I expected us to talk about this later in the conversation. I technically haven't even asked the question. No,
I learn with people all the time. They always want to have, one-on-ones with me.
No. And
I basically say, do you have a problem you want me to solve or a question you want me to answer? And I get right into it.
This is no longer a podcast, everyone. This is now just Coach Ratner coaching me personally. So
That's
you
great.
can leave if you want. But no, please stay. Please subscribe. Please review. Anyway, but what happened was there was a circumstance where I wasn't able to see my girlfriend as much, really because of transportation on my part. My car had broken down.
Okay.
Because my car had broken down, it kind of gave me this 10,000 foot view where now I was only seeing her, maybe once a week if I was lucky, to be able to look at the relationship. And when I
stepped away from it, you realized it wasn't healthy for you.
Yeah, I realized there were some really big things. There were these very loud whispers in the back of my head that I was ignoring.
Yeah.
And what had occurred to me was that there were certain parts of my life that really weren't being fulfilled. We didn't look at our Judaism the same way.
Okay. I want to stop right now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to embarrass you, but I'm going to make the assumption that there was physicality involved in the relationship.
Yeah, there was physicality, but it was dwindling. Listen, I'm going to be very transparent on the show. So
okay, that's fine. So we're not going to get into that part. That's not. I'm not a sex doctor, although I could probably be one. Anyway, I want to say when you started dating, you say you're dating for the purpose of marriage. But what happens in many relationships, and this is why I put love into 4 phases. Let's get into it now. The first phase of a relationship is called the crush. This is when you go out with someone and you think they're cute and you like them to make you laugh. And you're like, they're cute, whatever. I can see myself dating this person. You go out with them 2-3 times, and then you're like, you know what? I want to have a relationship. And you get into phase 2. It's called the research phase. And this is where you're learning the likes and the dislikes about them. And it's a very exciting time of relationship because everything is brand new. And, it's interesting when I was in America and I would try to set someone up and they were dating someone, they'd say, oh, I'm seeing someone. And what does it mean when you're seeing someone? It means you're dating them, right? I think that's what it means.
It can mean anything. It seems like a very ambiguous way to say that you're dating someone.
From my perspective, it means
Right.
I'm busy. It's like, I'm saying. But really what they should be saying is I am listening to someone, because listening is how relationships are formed. What's interesting, because the word listen and silent have the same exact letters in it, which means in order to listen, you also not just go in one ear at the other. It's interesting in the second paragraph of Shema that Jews say twice a day. It says Shema v'tishma'u, which means hear and you shall listen. So are you hearing, going in one ear out the other, or are you actually listening, which means internalizing it, taking it in, able to verbalize it back out? One of my friends said to me when I was in my early 20s, and I wasn't religious, and I had a hard time getting a second date. And he said to me, that stuck with me forever. He said, if you want girls to like you, don't talk, just listen. Because listening is how relationships are formed, especially with a woman. Guys, not so much. Chaz, you and I can go to a Lakers game and we can watch LeBron, whatever, it's not, the second best player ever. And we can, say a few words together, have a beer, some pretzels, whatever, go home, have a great time. Women don't ever watch an NBA game and see two women together what are they doing in the NBA game? They're not watching the game.
Right.
What are they doing?
Talking?
They're talking. They're talking because that's how they form relationships. So when you get to the second phase, it's not just about, it's about understanding who the person is. And the reason why I put love into 4 phases is because most people want to get to the third phase. Chad, you're dating this girl. You were dating for the purpose of marriage. So therefore, I don't want to bash you, but like at 6 months, you either break up with them or get married. I mean, that should have happened at that point in time, right? How old are you now?
29.
29. So you're mature. You know what you're looking for, right? So at 6 months, I always had a rule. At 6 months, I'm either going to marry them or break up with them. That was my rule. And most people don't have the clarity to go into a relationship like this. So most people want to get to the third stage, which is called the commitment. The commitment is, from my vernacular, means marriage. And this is what everyone wants to do, marriage. And this is where the problem lies. And this is why we're at the 4 phases of love. If you take 100 marriages today in the world, not in the observer world, just the regular world, Jewish, non-Jewish world, how many get divorced?
I think statistically in the U.S., 50% of couple marriages get divorced, right?
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's say that, use that number. Out of the 50% that are left, how many of them do you think are in passionate, loving relationships?
I would say a small sliver.
Okay, so if you're getting married today and you're walking down the aisle and you're in love together, we're in love. No one thinks they're statistic. No one walking down the aisle anywhere they're getting married thinks they're statistic. Yet probably 80-90% of the marriages are not going to end up well. Half will get divorced. And what's left, most of them won't be that happy. So why get married? And this is why with the 4th phase of love. I'm not trying to talk about marriage. By the way, the issue is that the biggest decision you're going to make in your life is you're going to marry. It's the biggest decision. Yet you go into it without any wisdom whatsoever. You want to, become a real estate agent. You have to take classes. I don't know how long it takes. 3 months, 6 months. You have to learn a lot about real estate. You want to get a driver's license. You have to practice and practice and practice and take a written test. You want to do anything in life. Become a lawyer. Go to school for 3 years. I mean, like anything you do in life, you have to learn about it. If the biggest decision you're going to make in your life, you're going to with actually no wisdom whatsoever. That sounds kind of crazy, right?
Yeah,
especially
of course.
The stats are staring you right in the face. How come they're so bad? Because people don't have wisdom what it takes to get married. And this is why I started teaching about it. And this is why I started writing books about it. And I want everyone to get, by the way, the reason I'm doing this podcast for you, because I want all your listeners to have a passionate, loving relationship with one person the rest of their life. And if they're not, I failed. And I have no intention of failing. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to change people's lives. You get that? So I want everyone to get to the 4th phase. The 4th phase is called never leaving. This is the point you get in a relationship when you realize that there's always going to be someone better in almost every characteristic trait of your spouse. A better cook, a better lover, someone who opens up more emotionally, someone who's not as angry, someone who's not as sloth, someone who's better looking, someone who's better, whatever it is, there's always someone better in every single characteristic. But after 5, 10, 15 years of marriage, you get to the point where you realize that your spouse isn't perfect, but they're perfect for you. And that's called never leaving. What's the difference between the commitment and never leaving? You're only committed to something until you're not committed anymore. Chad, how many times have you been like, oh, this year, New Year's Eve, I'm going to work out 3 times a week. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to only eat vegan. I'm only going to eat meat once a week. And how long does that last?
Well, listen, I do those things personally, so that's a little different, but it's pretty funny that you say all that.
Because you're unusual.
Okay.
Right?
That's cool.
You're an unusual fellow, but most people don't hold by their commitments.
That's true. So
Right.
There have been many years in the past where, yeah, sure, I would say I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week, and then I never did. There are many
Right.
years like that in the past. That's not me today. And it's
Right,
so
because
funny
you're growing. I'm
Yeah.
going to assume you're probably growing spiritually also.
Mhm.
Right. And when you start to understand that God created you for a purpose and he put you here for greatness, like, what can I do? Because I tell my students, and I tell my kids, it's your job to change the world, not let the world change you. All right. And we let the world change us, and we do what everyone else does. And we follow whatever the social media, whatever is going on that day, whatever clothes we're wearing, whatever people listen to, we do what everyone else does. And we don't think for ourselves. For me, learning Torah was about starting to think for myself and make my own decisions, not what everyone else does. People who come, I teach at Isha Torah, both the seminary and yeshiva, and I get a lot of young students who don't know anything about Judaism. And I ask a room full of them, I say, how many of you people here were told that you're going to get brainwashed? And all the hands go up. My mom told me, my sister. I said, they're completely right. The reason why they're getting brainwashed, because your brain is full of silts and needs to be cleaned out. When I was living in America, I had no choice of what went in my brain. Whatever the news said, whatever the football said, whatever the local, I just let everything in. I didn't put a barrier in front of my brain and choose what went into my. Not everything's good for you. Not everything that you hear or read is good for you. And when you start to watch it, it's like walking to a perfume store. Even though you don't put the perfume on, you're there for long enough, you walk out, you smell.
Are you saying that, I mean, again, going back to the subject matter of this podcast, in order to find the love of your life,
you need clarity.
You need the clarity to know what should be in your life and what should not be in your life.
Let me give you some more details. Okay.
Yeah.
So the fourth base is called never leaving. This is what everyone to get to. It's interesting. When someone gets engaged, what do they do for the next 3 months? After they call their parents and their future in-laws, generally they're going to plan the wedding for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Right. What should they be planning for?
I guess their life.
Their life together, right?
Yeah.
The average wedding lasts maybe 5 hours max. Yet the day you get married is the day the hard work starts. It's just like if you watch any movies out of Hollywood or like romantic comedies, what's the last scene in that movie is usually the wedding. How can they never show 10, 20, 30 years down the road? Because it wouldn't be a romantic comedy, it'd be a murder mystery. The day you get married is the day the hard work starts.
Okay.
Right. Now, this is only a half-hour podcast, right? So I can't get to everything. I have lots of concepts called the 3-date rule. I'm going to try to get into some of the heavy stuff first. Many people that are young will not date someone when they see a picture of them. Oh, they're not good looking enough. They're not for me, right? But there's a rule of thumb I have that the more you know someone you like, the better looking they get. And the exact opposite true. The more you know someone you don't like, the uglier they get. I mean, not Julia Roberts, like Angela Jolie, beautiful woman. They're guys that want to vomit when they see her because they can't stand her. They dated her. They can't stand her. For every beautiful woman walking down the street, there's a guy that's sick of her. For every hot guy walking down the street, there's a woman that's sick of them. Looks only go so far. And when you don't allow yourself to get to know someone, going out with them at least 3 times. Obviously, if you go on a date with a woman and she picks her nose, doesn't stop talking about her mother, laughs like a hyena, you don't go out with them. But in general, you need to give someone at least 2 or 3 chances. Am I making sense?
No. You are making sense. I think, you got to give them a chance. Yeah.
You have to give them a chance.
If they give you a chance.
Because all you have to go, when you go with someone on one date, there's only one thing you have to go on. That's what they look like. It's called first date bias, which means the better looking they are, the more likely they're gonna have a second date. I mean, that's my opinion. Maybe not true with everybody, but women and men see differently. Women see men inside out, and men see women outside in, which means, looks are important to women also, but we're probably more biased as guys for what the woman looks like. So let me give you 3 questions that you need to ask yourself before you get married. Number 1, am I physically attracted to them? Which doesn't make them physically attracted to anybody else except you. You're the only one marrying them. So they'd be physically attracted to you. Number 2, do we share common meaningful values and goals? Which means those meaningful values and goals must be more than just physical. Because I know many people who get married because they have a crush with someone. They confuse infatuation and love, and they get married and wonder why they're a horrible relationship, because they both wanted to have children. And they have children, and they've been married 20 years, and the kids leave the house, and now they're staring at each other in the kitchen like, why did we get married in the first place? Oh, we wanted children. The children are gone. The reason for them getting married is out of the house, and therefore the marriage falls apart. Very, very common. Chaz, were your parents married?
My parents are married. Yeah, thank God.
You're very blessed. You're very blessed. So it can't just be children. Money is also another reason why people get married. And they're more, I think money is a harder challenge than poverty in a marriage, because you don't wake up in the morning and think to yourself, you know what? We're poor. We can't pay the rent. You know you're poor. It's a challenge for sure. I don't wish that on anybody. But wealth will sneak up on people and they don't realize it. They start spending money on things they don't need. And money, there's a mission in Pirkei Avos that says the more meat, the more worms, the more slaves, the more lewdness, which means the more things you have in your life that you have to take care of, the more it gets in the way of a relationship. And Bill Gates just got divorced, and all these wealthy guys get divorced. Right. So I don't think you can't get money for money. Although I'd rather you have money than not have money.
I oftentimes think about how messed up Elon Musk's whole entire love life is. And I'm like when you hear about these things and you find out that he named his child after a math equation, you find out about the multiple children he has the children probably don't even know that he's the father.
The world is nuts. Right, the world's nuts.
Yeah.
And you can't get married just because you work out there. I know many people that meet at running clubs and softball games and Pilates classes, yoga classes, and they meet and they start dating. They have a physical relationship. They confuse infatuation with love, and then they get married and wonder why they're in a horrible relationship, because they don't have a common, meaningful purpose and goal together, which means must be more than just physical. Listen, we have God in our life. We have Torah in our life. Maybe not for everyone to be religious, but religious people have a significantly lower amount of divorce in their relationships than people who are non-religious. It's not a good reason to get married, but I met a couple in LA. Actually, I flew with them on their private jet from Van Nuys to Miami a few months ago. Actually, after I saw you that week in LA.
It's pretty lavish. Yeah.
Oh, it was all amazing. It was amazing. And it's a long story I'm not going to do now. And they're in their 60s and they're very wealthy and they don't have any children, but they spend their time giving to charity. They spend their time, they're big charitable to Jewish organizations, to conservative organizations, conservative political organizations, and they help them out with ideas. That's their common, meaningful purpose and goal together. You get it? The number 3 question you must ask before you get married. It's different for a man and the woman. For a man, the question we must ask is, am I willing to make her happy the rest of my life? Am I willing to make her happy if fill in the blank? If she gains 50 pounds, if she, whatever it is, am I willing to make her happy? And the question the woman must, and I know women are probably saying, why can't I make him happy? Well, the reason is because if he makes you happy, you'll make him happy. That's the way relationships work. The woman has to ask this question before she marries a man. Do I respect him? Respect for a man is so important. And I didn't realize this in my 20s year. I didn't realize, I need to be respected. But now that I'm married 22 years, I need to respect it. It's very important for me that my wife respects me. Do I want to be loved? Yeah, I want to be loved. But respect for me is more important. And when you understand that in a relationship, when a woman understands that she must respect her husband or her future husband, you're getting off on the right foot. Those are the 3 questions you must ask before you get married. Chaz, how much time do we have?
We have listen, it's technically we have 7 minutes, but we can go a little longer if we need to. It's roughly 30 minutes. Not a hard stop.
Do you have any questions? I can keep going.
So first of all, there's a lot of information here. It's kind of like drinking water out of a fire hose. But the second thing,
I do overwhelm people with information, and I can go slower if we do more podcasts. But this is all on my podcast and also in my Infinite Marriage book. This is all in there.
Absolutely. It's no problem at all. We can take up the time that we need. And by the way, whatever information you're giving me, someone on the other end is listening to this and you're changing their life. So thank you for that. I can tell you right now, I think that those are important questions to ask. The one thing I'm caught up on, okay, let's talk about the timeline for a second. I think a lot of people will probably feel this way because, listen, here in secular America, I'm not going to talk about the religious experience in America. I'm talking about in secular America. The timeline for marriage typically is like a year to even sometimes 5 years, right? And the mindset is that there is no timing. There is no need to rush things and get them going. In fact, when you say something as bold as you should have been married in 6 months, a lot of people get caught up in that. Okay. So that's something that gets me caught up because that's still my mindset. And I see the logic in that personally. Personally, I could tell you that, yeah, it takes time to get to know someone. It takes time to really understand them, to understand and see their flaws, and see them go through their everyday life. You want to understand that person and find a way to love their flaws and find a way to love everything about them. But how can you possibly understand the full 3-dimensional, if not 4-dimensional figure of that person in 6 months? How can you possibly understand that?
You don't. That's the great thing about marriage. It's a journey.
So
So what I've done, I did in my new book, Infinite Marriage, I put a worksheet in there. It's also downloadable for free on my website, Coach Ratner. It's a worksheet that asks, I don't know, 6 or 8 questions to help clarify who's good for you in a relationship. Because generally when someone comes up, coach, I'm going to get married. I'm like, who are you looking for? They're not clear on what they're looking for. Not that they know what they're looking for, but they should have some idea. So most people will name the characteristics that they are themselves because they love themselves the most. So look for someone just like themselves, but you don't need someone like yourself. You need someone who's the exact opposite of you to fulfill you as a person, to basically finish you off as a person. The definition of marriage is a union of 2 souls. It's a merger. So when you start to look for someone just like yourself, you're just having more of yourself. You don't need more of you.
So you're saying that like one piece of advice that someone gave me a long time ago was you should write down the top 10 qualities you're looking for in a partner. Are you saying I should do that and then write the opposite phrases?
No. So with the questions I ask, I haven't looked at it in a while. One of the questions I do ask that question, name I think 5 or 10 things you're looking for. But then I also ask, name 2 or 3 married couples you know that you admire. And what do you admire about them? And you write those down. And then I say, who else in the world do you admire that's not married? Someone you know, someone like yourself, or someone famous, a movie star, a politician, a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, it doesn't matter. And what 3 things do you admire about them? And then I ask, if you could live with any animal in the world, what would it be?
An animal?
Animal. Some people have written elephants. Some people have written monkeys. Some people have written dogs. And then I ask, what are the 3 qualities about the animal that you love? And then I take, you also like this, and I take all those qualities that you listed yourself, the animals, your married couple, all these things, and make a master list. And then you have to rank them from 1 to 10. And the top 3 are non-negotiable.
Huh.
And the reason why, because most people are not really sure who's good for them. Right. And I think one of the questions is name 3 of your negative characteristics and name 3 things that would counteract those and put those on the list also.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's part of the list also. So it helps clarify who you're really looking for in a relationship. Because like I said, the only thing you have to go on when you're dating someone the first time is what they look like. And that is not who you're going to marry. When couples in their 70s and 80s, or 80s especially, and they're madly in love with each other, it's not a physical thing. I mean, he's all wrinkly and she's all sag. I think we're all sagging and wrinkly, right? And so it's not the physical part. It's the soul. You want to be married to someone who's your soul. By the way, I have a concept in my book that if you want to catch the right fish, you have to put out the right bait, which means like when I was in my late 20s, I had all these weights in my garage in Virginia. I was pumping iron. I was putting up 250. I was pumping iron all day long. I was even taking creatine for a short amount of time.
That's why they call you coach. Yeah.
Well, no. The reason I only coach, I give over good wisdom. I think I have clarity. That's all it is. And not that people like me, just I have clarity because I tell the truth.
They don't like you. They respect you.
They respect, right? So by the way, I don't do any of this for money. I've never charged for any of my classes. I spoke in LA. I spoke, I think 4 times that week. I don't charge any money for my speaking.
Wow.
Yeah. And I spoke yesterday in Tel Aviv. And in starting May, I'll be speaking at least twice a week in Jerusalem. And again, I'm coming to you guys again to LA in early June.
Amazing.
I'll be in Florida in July, and I think back in Chicago in August. That's my schedule for speaking.
That's awesome. So sorry, go back here for a second though. So you were talking about putting out the right bait. You were pumping.
Yeah. So like I was lifting weights. And I had pretty good guns. I was pretty good. So I'd go out to these singles events. I'd wear like a tight black t-shirt and jeans. And I had women, not like I'm good looking. I was an average looking guy, but I could talk. And the girls, they liked me, whatever. And they liked me because they liked my muscles. They might like me also, but like I found myself on this treadmill of constantly dating the wrong people that were a hamster wheel of people that weren't good for me because they were going after my body, not my soul. Do you get that?
Yeah.
But when you show really nice body parts, and the people in your social circle will be the ones that like those nice body parts. So if you're a dude and you have big muscles and you show them off with tight t-shirts, you're going to have girls around you that like those big muscles. And they're liking you for your, this is just a generalization. I'm telling you this right now. There are exceptions to everything. But if you want to have the best chance of a passionate, loving relationship, You need to hide the parts of you that can attract the wrong person. Am I clear or not?
No. You're clear. It's just
Crystal?
it's a new challenge for me because I mean I'm only showing from the chest up. But listen, I like tight shirts. I like not tight, but I like tight shirts. I'm just thinking right now, I post something on Instagram of me looking probably at my prime in fitness where I'm currently at. So
I was at 29, I was also prime in fitness, and I showed it off. And that's why I didn't get me my wife. So finally, around 32, 33, 34, I'm like, if I want to like catch the right fit, listen, I was looking for seared salmon and seared halibut. I was catching gefilte fish and fish sticks, right? I wasn't catching the right kind of woman that I wanted in my life. And once I started dressing more like a mensch, button down shirts, I still had good muscles. That was, I wasn't fat. I was in good shape. I still looked like in good shape. You wear clothes that don't accentuate the muscles, you still look like you're in good shape. But that wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for a woman who was looking for my soul. And it took me many, many years to find her. And when I did, and believe me, when I first got married, our relationship was good. It wasn't great. And then I started learning Torah, and I started learning about marriage and relationships. And I started coming up with my own concepts and ideas that we didn't even get into today. Like the TV show Chopped, I have a whole analogy on that. I have something on sunscreen love. I have the 4 A's: attention, affection, appreciation, awareness. I have a lot of stuff that I talk about in the book. But really, if you want to catch the right bait, you got to put out if you want to catch the right fish, you got to put the right bait. And if you show body parts and, you're not going to, I have a whole concept. I've been thinking about a lot about it recently. It's called the beauty disadvantage. That sometimes the more beautiful you are, and I have no stats to back this up. This is a new thought in my mind over the last week. And I even wrote it down because I sometimes forget my things.
Hit me. Let's chop the idea together.
It's called the beauty disadvantage that the more beautiful you are, that you might have a harder time finding a passionate relationship because so many guys are, for a girl, beautiful. You have tons of guys around you. And unless you have a lot of clarity, unless you have a coach or a representative rabbi or someone to guide you through relationships, you're probably going to marry a guy that's not great for you. And same thing, a really good looking guy. He's going to marry. And this is just a generalization, and not everyone's going to agree with me. And I'm not like sold on this idea yet, but it's an idea in my mind that sometimes you're at a disadvantage when you're so beautiful.
You mean aesthetically?
You mean
aesthetically?
You're at a disadvantage. You got to have a lot of clarity. You should be using me to help you find your wife.
That is the nicest compliment anyone's given me on this podcast, is that I'm at a disadvantage. That's
well, I was coaching a girl last week here in Jerusalem, and she's from South Africa, and she's beautiful, and she has an unbelievable accent, like killer. I go, you are such a disadvantage. Every guy who can talk to you is gonna like swoon over you. So like for you gotta go through the haystack and make sure that these aren't all thorns that you're gonna marry. She needs a lot of clarity.
Definitely. I get what you're saying. To summarize, though, to kind of like look at this from the 10,000 foot view, you're saying position yourself not to aesthetically please, but to spiritually please, to try to attract common spirits. And in doing so, I guess this is the wisdom behind modesty, in that what we see oftentimes in the religious spaces of Judaism. But modesty helps us look at what's more important.
Yes,
modesty helps us connect to the part that you're really looking for in a marriage.
You said it better than me. That when you dress modestly, you're allowing the inside of you to shine, the inner you, the real you, the soul to shine, not the body. You want to have a nice body. I think everyone should have a nice body, but when you show those parts off, you're attracting the wrong bait. You're putting out the wrong bait.
No, it's good. By the way, the reason why I'm so serious, the reason why I'm like listening to this, like taking this all in, there are some like truth shattering things that are like breaking some perceptions that I've had. And as we pointed out at the beginning of the show, I am looking for love. I am looking for my relationship. I'm still single, tried to date, have been unsuccessful, despite everything. And, now like this is definitely in part a selfish interview where I am just trying to, get information that can help me grow and learn and, change.
I have a lot more to give you.
Okay. I
think you'll have to have me home again.
Yeah, of course.
We gotta get in the sunscreen love. We got it. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you can. This is the first book I wrote
Love
called
it.
10 Secrets to Find the Love of Your Life.
Okay.
You can
Love
buy
it.
it on Amazon under Daniel Ratner, not Coach Ratner. And you can also download it for free at Coach Ratner.
Love it.
And the second book I wrote, The 10 Secrets to a Passionate Marriage, again, you can download it for free at Coach Ratner or buy it on Amazon. And then I wrote, I'm not going to throw my book, Score, Mastering Wealth, Wisdom, and Happiness. That's not free. That's at Amazon. Find Your Awesome. And then my new book just came out. I don't have it. It's upstairs. It's called Infinite Marriage.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Coach Ratner, Daniel, it's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. And I think that I hope that I'm not the only one to take something very meaningful from this show. I want to appreciate you for being respectful to my vulnerabilities. I want to appreciate the listeners for being respectful to my vulnerabilities and for hearing the show. I'm so glad. I think it's a blessing that I got to meet you in person. You're truly an inspiring guy. For the listeners, be sure to tune into Living in Clarity. That is Coach Ratner's podcast. Be sure to check it out on your favorite podcast platform. Also, if you want to check out Bad Jew has its website finally, badjew.co. That is C as in Chaz and O as in oh my God, the show is great. Be sure to go on there to get your Bad Jew merch. And to the listeners, thanks again. Subscribe, leave a review, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much.
Shalom.